Hello, Iron Mountains. Welcome to this week's edition of Regent's Corner. So today's episode is going to be about leather armor and armor types according to Amtgard, which is brought to you suggestion I got from Brave Gray Knight. So that is a fantastic idea because I have never seen a video breaking down leather armor, because everybody wants can argue chain and butted and butted plate and plate mail and all this, but leather gets pretty left out. So today I'm going to do a quick video on leather types, how to measure, and how that. So let's start off with, and the caveat with this, of course, is this is under the V8 rules of play, ROP. That could change, and might have to get with some rule committee and see about adjusting the leather, because there. So anyway, so let's start with light leather, animal skin or fur. So we're talking something like rabbit skin here, rabbit fur, or other fur. I've even used sheepskin rugs as armor, but that's typically considered to be 1 point minimum, 2 point max. So when we're talking light leather, we're talking minimum requirement is 1/16 inch thick. So if you're like me, that doesn't make much sense to you. So 1/16 is equal to 4 ounce or 1.6 millimeter. So how can we measure said thickness in the field? Well, first I have a nice little tandy leather gauge here. Really simple. You just slide it down, and when it stops, it tells you where it's at. I don't know if you can quite make that out, but this leather is exactly 4 ounce. It just gives you an idea how thin 4 ounce leather is. This would be considered 1 point. Now, it talks about specific modifiers. Charbroil has been boiled in wax lacquer there. Basically, you're hardening the leather, which I'll show that in just a minute. Another way you can measure a little bit easier or a little more strict is a really cheap digital caliper. Once again, you can just buy this from, I got this at Harbor Freight, obviously. Set it to millimeter. And as you see right there, exactly 1.6 millimeter. So that's exactly 4 ounce, which is exactly lightweight leather. Then we move on to strong leather. And there's, quite frankly, a large gap. Because while light leather has a minimum of 1, maximum 2, doesn't really sit there. So now we get into strong leather. This is much thicker armor. This is must be 3/16 inch thick, aka 12 ounce leather or 4.8 millimeter. Once again, just give you an idea of just how thick. This is strong leather. As you can see, I might just use my caliper. It's a little easier for the camera to make the visual. As you see that right there, 4.9. So that is what we call, that is how thick it has to be 2 point armor. You can see there's a big difference between the two, light, strong. Now, for 2 point, now it gets strong leather gets a maximum of 3 point leather, of 3 points. And it can also be made there through hardening, through wax lacquering. There you can also wear a gambeson under it, and as well as thick heavy gauge, which is at least a 1/4 inch thick, and that is 16 ounce or 6.3 millimeters thick. So give you an idea, and you can do this by attaching layers. So I'm going to use a piece of my buzzy bands here. As you see, this is already pretty thick stuff. So if I was just going to measure it, let me turn it on. So it's, yeah, there we go. So it is 6.3 by itself. And that's not even counting it's hardened. Now, if I were to measure it right there with the leather, now we're talking about 9.6, 10 millimeter thick. So this is 3 point leather just by the thickness, and then it's also, so I got heavy gauge and wax hardened, as you can hear. So, but typically though, strong leather like that is not going to be That's what I consider SCA grade leather. Most of your Amtgard LARP leather is going to fall somewhere in between. And this here just happens to be about 3.3 millimeters. So it's about 7 to 8 ounce. Once again, I don't think you can really read this. It doesn't come on camera that well. But this is a nice thing to have if you're going to be really retentive about leather armor. I'm pretty generous. I generally give everybody 2 points unless I can tell it's super thin. But just give an example between 1 point light, maybe 2 point light, not quite strong. So I would give this probably 2 points because it's definitely thicker than the minimum, but it's not as thick enough to be strong leather. It's in the middle. So I would personally score that as 2 point, which is probably most of your commercial bought armor, leather armor, especially from India, overseas, unless it's made specifically for like SCA or heavy combat like that, it's going to be in the 7 to 8 ounce leather. So you're looking at most leather being 2 points. Now me, when I'm on the field, I just pretty much default to think everybody has 3 points. Now, it doesn't specify under leather, but under superior construction, you can do studs. That'll also get you a +1. So let's see here. Let's see how thick this is. I've never actually measured this. This happens to be, let me measure that out. Come on. 7.3. So this by itself is thick enough to be 3-point leather. But you could take 2-point leather and add studs is another way to add it. Another example is another pair of my bracers here. So this would only roll down to 4.4. So we're not quite enough to be strong leather just yet, but it's definitely enough for 2 point. Like I said, I would score this about 2 points. This is about 7 to 8 ounce as well. Yep, right about 8 ounce. Now, because we have the extra layers on there, now we're at 8.6. So by layering your leather, I just took this from maybe 2-point light leather to 3-point strong leather, just by adding another extra layer of 7 to 8 ounce leather. And I'll give you another example of layered leather. Here, I have lots of armor. As you see here, elbow brace. It's not hardened, but it's already pretty thick already. Yeah, let's just see how thick this is. This should be pretty thick too. This is at least 12 ounce when I made it. Yep, 4.7. So it's close enough to be a 2-point strong leather. But now that we've added extra layer on there. Now what you don't want to do is, I find you don't need to layer 15 ounce with 15 ounce. This is about a 7 to 8 ounce layer over a 13 ounce, 14 ounce leather. And that's going to be plenty thick, lots of rigidity, which is going to be great for, gives you a nice look to it and it can help you get over that 2-point into 3-point territory on strong leather, especially if you're trying to go for the heavy gauge. Once again, so when you got the 2-point, the best way to get to that third point by the modifiers is really the heavy gauge is the easiest thing to do. Just use thicker leather. Or you take 2 pieces of 7 ounce. Let's just kind of show you here. So we can take 2 layers of 7 ounce, sandwich that together. This is why I like this. And now we have, well, I can't. So, oh, there we go. So now we have 6.6. So by adding just 2 layers of 7 ounce, we now have 3-point strong leather. So that's the cheapest, probably easiest way to get into 3-point leather. The process of wax hardening. Now here's another example of a shoulder pauldron where you can add. This is one of my early projects, so it's pretty rough. You add this is layering leather, gives you a nice look, and it helps with that 3 points. Now, if you want to and you can do it, wax hardening is great for a lot of pieces. I generally don't wax harden my my arms. This is a solid bracer, so I don't care as much. Or on my shoulders, solid pieces. I usually don't do forearms because you want the flexibility there. Hence why we layer the leather like that. So that's a good way, a cheap way to do it. I'll probably be doing a video on wax hardening here soon, on how to wax harden. And I'll let you on a little new piece of greave I'm making. As you see here, once again, I took fairly thin leather for the back because I didn't want to go overkill on the thickness of the leather because it's going to be on my shin. So I went ahead and hardened it, mostly so I could shape it, but I put a nice little layer of leather on there. So now we have 3-point greaves, just like that. So really easy way to do light leather. Now, how would I score leather? As a champion or monarch, somebody gives it to me, hands me the leather. Like I said, I'm generally pretty generous. For the light leather, as long as I see it's at least, where did I put the piece? I guess I can use this strap here. So you can pretty much see the difference between minimum and something in the middle. So I would probably just go ahead and, because there's such a big gap between 4 ounce and 12 ounce, that I would give them 2 points for that. Then obviously, once again, just so you see the difference of just how thick strong leather actually needs to be. Give you an idea there, just compared even to what we just discussed. Now, that being said, like I said, you could take 2 8-ounce and put it together, and then you have your 12 ounce. So layering is, once again, being repetitive here, really probably, in my opinion, the easiest, cheapest way to get into that 3-point strong leather. And that also depends on what you want, what your material is, what your class is. Now, light leather. Now, the only time you're probably going to get, I'm just going to use this as an example, is costume grade armor will not get you 1.6. Or actually, that would be one. This is some fairly thick garment grade leather. So you could technically make a bracer out of this and it would be 1 point. And the nice thing, it's pretty readily available. A lot of chances are costume grade armor will probably only score you 1 point. Now, another thing with the fur, it's usually from there when I compress it. It's not like there. Or if you're going to fold it over and wear it like that, then you can get yourself into there. So fur is lightweight, okay? Which is great for trim and stuff. And I know some barbars out there that love to wear their fur armor. So, and that's how I basically, just a quick video on leather armor and how it pertains to Amtgard and how to make it thicker and better. I do believe under superior construction, the studs would be applicable to leather work because I know how much work it takes to put in a stud in leather. That I would gladly give the person the point for that. So that's another way you could probably make a quick, cheap 2 light leather and to give yourself a 2nd point in the 2-point leather. If you don't have the thick stuff, if all you have is thinner leather, you can stud it, you can layer it up, you can even wax harden, that'll probably be a future video. I probably should have shot that today when I was wax hardening and stuff, but anyways. So I think that generally covers leather armor and how it pertains to Amtgard. Now this is Amtgard Pacific, obviously, not DAG, not there. DAG usually requires it to be basically SCA grade, which is 15 ounce, 16 ounce leather to count, but that's not what this video is about. So Amtgard. So that is light and strong leather. So I always try to make strong leather for all my armor pieces because I want that maximum 3 points. I'm kind of a min-maxer like that. But So that's generally all we're going to do with that. I don't think I have anything else from this video. So with that, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them below. And once again, thanks to Brave Gray Knight for the recommendation. And until next time, stay crafty.